Attention passengers, this is the captain speaking. Welcome to Ambassador Airlines, Flight 1982, destination Accra, Ghana. Of course, we'll be cruising at an altitude of pure funk. Expect a little classic Afrobeat hip-hop turbulence. Sit back, relax, enjoy your flight. Once again, thank you for choosing Ambassador Airlines.
No, Dikembe! Hey, no, Dikembe! Hey, no, Dikembe! Durham. Hi, you fella. Well, check it out.
Hip hop is all about representing where you're from, which is why he's so authentic. You know what I'm saying? You have to represent where you're from and always innovate.
Like any good rapper, Blitz tells his story. It's the story of an African in diaspora, hustling, striving, missing home, going home, coming back, trying to keep a clear head while shuffling between vastly different realities. Through it all, he makes us believe, as he does, that Africa is the future.
Ditch you Nkrumah, ditch you Lumumba, ditch you Sankara. See what they did to Nkrumah, see what they did to Lumumba, see what they did to Sankara. See what they did to Lumumba, see what they did to Sankara. See what they Free your mind, free your mind.
I immediately understood that if I was going to be an MC, I had to have content. I had to have social content. And for me, where I was growing up at, it wasn't hard. I mean, we were dealing with so much corruption and just social inequities. And, you know, I came from a pretty poor neighborhood called Medina. And that neighborhood was just so neglected. Finding things to rap about wasn't hard.
Hip-hop culture came at the right point in my life where we had just skipped past a long pseudo-dictatorship, and we had just gotten into a democracy. And what was happening was people were beginning to become expressive again. And hip-hop culture was like the best tide that swept through at the time, because here you had young, very disenfranchised people in America who had found a voice that was brash, that was direct, that was vulgar sometimes, but always made a point.
So these things are called koshka, right? If you're a kid in Ghana, then 9 times out of 10, if you're a cutting class, this is kind of what you were doing. And it's a very simple instrument, but I'll show you how it works. So you do this, and then this is how we'll run. So somebody will beatbox over this, right? And then somebody will go in like, yo, who the F is this? Paging me at 5:46 in the morning. Crack the door and now I'm yawning. Wipe the cold out my eye. See who's this paging me and why.
My man Pop from the barbershop told me he was in the gambling spot. I heard the intricate plot. Niggas wanna stake me like.
The beauty of hip-hop too is that it was sample culture. So it made it possible for you to just take whatever was around you. You didn't need extensive studying of music, scales and knowledge of music if you felt it and you knew how to work the rhythm, you could create something amazing.
When you think about hip hop and, you know, because of marketing, they make it very regional and very local, and they make it feel like it's a completely, just a only American invention. No, it has roots globally. When you start to look at like the incarnations of hip hop globally, you find that it's the same science. Everybody uses the same math and science. You take something that's you know, has an edge, and then you push it over the edge a bit more, and then, and then you end up with your version of hip hop.
We're all borrowing from cultures. I mean, it's a human thing. Like nobody is here that isn't influenced by something that's outside their culture, or that doesn't take on something that's outside their culture. I guess the big difference is how you engage with that thing. If you're engaging with it from an exploitative perspective and not giving back, and not honoring where you're getting this from. Now that, I feel, is the core difference.
This right here for my people on the continent taught. Slave the pain away by the government hard. Pray from day to day, never getting a search. Those who paved the way, but it's nothing here. Red, gold, green, black. Start in the middle and we right in the middle. This inevitable riddle. We are in the ghetto, certainly readily. Every little soul is a rebel. So click, clack, blast and get back fast. Who's really thinking that we free at last? Taking us a minute ever since our independence. They controlling our business so they get that cash. IMF, World Bank, you know the same motherfuckers in the same gang. North to the south, to the east, to the west. Africa's time to get up. Can I see your hands?
This is why when, say, a catastrophe happens globally, right, to, say, in Paris, which was a disaster, right, the terrorism that happened there, immediately the world processes it differently, because immediately you're thinking to yourself, I've engaged on several levels of white existence, so I can see these people as human, and more importantly, I can see them as the man who is losing his house and trying to get it together. That's who got shot. Oh, the woman who, so those are humanizing stories, you understand? Now when something happens in Nigeria, right, as barbaric and as violent, and probably more violent, the difference in how we process it is because we cannot humanize them. You look at them through the lens that you've constantly been presented with, which is war, which is Hotel Rwanda, which is Beasts of No Nation. And so I started to think clearly about that and realize that the difference is cinema. And the difference is how we constantly portray a people. Because we all consume cinema on every level, consistently. We've watched thousands of films, thousands. And if you ask yourself how many films truly dealt with a multi-layer of existence of people of color, you would find very few. If I ask this room, name 5 directors from, even let's start with African American. We'll get Spike Lee, and we may get Ava DuVernay because she's hot and new, but we can't name more than that, right? Now let's go external. Let's say the diaspora. Let's say Brazil. Let's name 5 directors. Let's name 5 in Africa. But you've watched 1,000+ movies, and you're probably going to be watching thousands more. Social media has become a replacement for that, because we're so thirsty for images that that are coming from the diaspora. So images from Brazil, images from people are beginning to curate them themselves.
Instagram has done more for people of color globally, sharing images of themselves, than cinema ever in its entire existence has. Because now people in Brazil can look at, say, Afropunk and see photos from it and be like, wait a second, I can rock that, and that validates me. And then somebody from Brooklyn can look at something that's a carnival that's happening in Trinidad and Tobago and be like, wait, that validates me, I can do that. And so people have the autonomy now to share what they feel represents them in a way that cinema never did for them.
Most recently, Blitz has married moving image and song in a trilogy of films called the Diasporatic Trilogia. Film number 1 is called Juju Girl, was made in Ghana. Film number 2 is called Shine, was made in Red Hook, Brooklyn. And film number 3, Runnin', was made in Salvador Bahia, Brazil.
I really appreciated making this trilogy because it was like filmmaking boot camp. I literally made each one within 3 months of each other. Each time I had to write immediately, I had to produce immediately, I had to cast immediately, I had to edit immediately, and I had to release it immediately.
So I was telling Blitz last night in conversation, I remember when this song came out, and I've officially claimed it as my theme song. But for those who don't know, explain, what is a Juju Girl?
Juju in the context of at least Ghanaian culture is, magic. It's but like you mentioned yesterday, it's also very derogatory sometimes. It's also kind of associated with witchcraft in a negative way. So when I wrote Juju Girl, I was very clear that it would be controversial. And so one thing I was very clear about, and I learned this from like the Bob Marleys and the Felads and them, and Miriam Makeba specifically too, is that if you're going to make a song with like some strong messaging, you got to make it as sweet and beautiful, and it's got to be gorgeous. And so I spent more time than I've spent writing any song on this song, just making sure that the parts moved and it looked beautiful. And when we shot the video, I was very clear on the beauty that I wanted to capture. And so when I went home to premiere it, I was nervous, but when it came out, I mean, the number of people that came up to me saying how much they loved it, and I mean, these were like hardcore Christians, you know, how much it touched them, and I realized that it's really because we've never seen this beautifully, and that's the difference.
Don't break your spell. Don't break your spell.
So we're gonna move from Accra to Brooklyn with Shine.
I'm gonna shine my light. I'm gonna shine my light. I'm gonna shine my light. I'm gonna shine my light.
Shine was the second one we shot in the trilogy series, and very, very similar to Juju Girl. I knew that, again, when people think about what a guardian angel is, you know, most people of African descent may never picture, you know, a raffia-clad spirit, because where are you gonna see that, you know? But think about it, like that's your ancestry, and so it's only right. And so the juxtaposition for me is everything. So it's like picking Zinga, who was my lead, and just an amazing spirit. The young girl was amazing to work with. People who would have been probably adverse to something like this are immediately tied to the story and are rooting for her. Yeah. And I think that's kind of, it was also one piece that I was very clear about, you know, attacking patriarchy on some level, because that's something that I'm very clear about as something that is a huge hindrance to any kind of internal evolution and revolution that's happening within our communities, is that we're constantly forgetting that patriarchy is just as destructive as racism and anything else. And so that was another opportunity for me to, you know, kind of vest this power in this little girl and kind of render her father helpless. And kind of her kind of coming to his aid was something critical.
Brand new, fresh from the start. Ambassador, sprinkle the holy fire on y'all. Tell it, get it, you got it anyhow. Baptized in the river, so my spirit is alive. I'm on my Tupac shit. Only God can judge me. Look into the heavens, no man can touch me. Struggling to get it, yet my people never settle. Africa's new representative, yeah, the most high blessed.
When I went to Brazil to shoot the running, that was a very thing I was very clear about. That one, I engaged with the community from a place of respect and a place of solidarity, and making sure that even now that I'm done, what I'm working on now is returning to Bahia to screen for free this video for the community that helped me work on it. And those things are the ways that show that you respect the community that you're engaging with, and then I think it moves away from exploiting and it goes to sharing. I landed there and I didn't know anybody. I ended up with close to 40 people in this production, and I was there for 10 days, and for 5 days I didn't have a story because, again, it was a space I was very unfamiliar with. So I showed up and just hoping that something would hit me. And when I started going through the favelas, I realized what was happening was that they were tearing down a lot of the buildings, and I was curious about it, and they were telling me that they're building these high-rises that changes the topography. And so then the government comes in and clears out another group of people, builds another high-rise, and that's just what they've been doing. So like this whole area had been getting gentrified for the last 5 years on a rapid rate. And immediately I was like, wow, you know, this is the story, you know? And the community was so helpful in getting it done, cooking for the production and helping us out with everything we needed. I mean, nobody barely got paid for that, you know, because they just understood what we were trying to do.
West in the continental. We on another level, never meddle with the devil. When we going in the battle, you know we never settle.
The importance of women's voices in hip hop is probably, I feel like, the biggest travesties of the culture right now. Is the fact that you can't have a culture when it's all a male soliloquy. You know, they're going back and forth about male egos. That's all it's been for a long time. It's not like there aren't phenomenal women rapping. It's just the way the industry set up. It's so difficult for their voices to cut out. And when they do, they are often almost always part of a group. And they're like the first lady of this or the first lady of that. It's never really just, you know, space. You know, that just exists for women to share their views.
It's critical that we engage with one another and find that. And of course, allies are important, and of course, people who mean well are important. But as a core, the diaspora's responsibility to find ways to connect to each other that make us self-sufficient, you know what I mean, and not dependent.
Check it, yo. The year's 95 and I'm sitting in the ride, see reclining, listen to Biggs ready to die. I was only 13, my mind and my dream, memorizing every verse with the rest of my team. We all rocking matching bubble jackets with the brown leather. Who would have thought it was 90-degree weather? Cross City, Ghana, where we rock for the honor. Got off stage, hopped in a trotro. Medina, where I stayed, was the reason for the freedom that I craved. Mama banging on my door, asking Jesus, can he save for sure? She could have swore I lost my mind. All alone in my room, spitting rhyme after rhyme after rhyme after. Only if she knew what I'll become. It's amazing like the raisin in the sun. Look at me now. Never just came for the glory. Just a kid from Africa, I'm here to tell my story. All I had was $1 and a dream. All I ever had was $1 and a. Never in this game for the glory. Just a kid from Africa, here to tell my story. All I had was $1 and a dream. All I ever had was $1 and a. Keep dreaming, y'all. Keep dreaming, y'all.